Hi, this is Rev Ed with today's Back Porch Devotional from Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. After concluding the Beatitudes that describe the character and outlook and approach of the people who belong to the kingdom of heaven, Jesus now starts to dig deep into what that looks like as we move into our interactions with the world. And he says, you are the salt of the earth. Now we know that we put salt on our food to make it taste good. And that's certainly one of the main qualities of salt, isn't it? And the tastiness of the Christian life ought to be something that makes others curious. You know, in Psalm 34, I believe David is the one who wrote it, and it says this, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." Our way of life ought to appear tasty to other people. Unfortunately, many Christians go about looking and acting as though they've been feasting on sour lemons all day long. I don't know when we got it into our heads that being grim was somehow equivalent to being godly. The Christian life ought to be characterized by peace and by joy and confidence because we know that the Lord is with us. And that's tasty. And the world should be hungry for it. And we have to be the kind of people that live in such a way that others want to get some of that for themselves. But salt is also for more purposes than just adding flavor to food. Salt, of course, is a preservative. They didn't have refrigerators in those days, so if you wanted to keep meat for a while, you had to salt it down. You had to cure the meat with salt. Salt is a preservative. It prevents corruption and decay. And as people who are supposed to live by the truth and walk by the truth and speak the truth, we are to prevent decay in the world around us. See, salt, when it stays in the salt shaker, isn't any good to anybody, is it? It has to be poured out. And so we are to have an anti-decaying effect on the world around us, simply by standing up for what is right and what is true, for justice and for righteousness and for goodness. We are to be the preservative that holds on to the good things in this world when the world around us appears to be crumbling. Salt also makes you thirsty, doesn't it? Salt can provide that impulse to have something refreshing to drink. That's why, so I've been told, bars serve things like pretzels and peanuts, which are coated in salt, so that'll make you want to have another beer. We are to be salty in a way that increases the thirst of those around us for God Himself. You know, Jesus said, "Whoever believes in me, out of him will come waters, living waters that spring up to eternal life." Jesus is the source of the only water that can satisfy our thirst. And if we live as salty Christians in the right way, people will have a thirst to have what we have. They will want some of that living water. Finally, you might remember that in the olden days, Roman soldiers were often paid in blocks of salt. That's where we get that saying, when we say that somebody is worth their salt. Well, we have to ask ourselves as Christians, are you worth your salt? Are you acting as a preservative in the immediate community that God has placed you? Are you acting as one who brings flavor to the world around you? Are you acting as one whose lifestyle produces thirst in others for the living water of Jesus Christ? We need to examine ourselves and see exactly how salty we are and make sure that we're not hiding in the salt shaker, only hanging out with other Christians. That does not have any influence on the world at all. But Jesus tells us that we are the salt of the earth. So go this day and be salty and bring some flavor and some thirst and some preservation to the people around you. God's blessings be with you this day.